who would want a lot more. There are many Nigerians who would want the president to proceed from what he has done today to maybe 6 months from now, take another look at the ministers and do the needful. If you ask me, I was expecting something more far-reaching than this, but I also have to admit that some of the decisions he has taken in this regard sit well with me. So having a minister to oversee the affairs of the development commissions, the regional development commissions, is something that sits well with me.
Okay.
Somebody has to coordinate all of those commissions. So that is good enough. Merging the Ministry of Tourism with the Ministry of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy is also something that sits well with me. I believe that we have far more ministries than we need, and as the government moves on, the president should show the courage to merge or scrap more ministries. We have far more ministries than we need, and when you look at the performance of these ministers, it does not justify having as many ministries as we have. The president has also taken a decision that many Nigerians were waiting for him to take, and that is appointing a substantive minister for humanitarian affairs and poverty alleviation.
Okay.
Since the suspension of Beta Edu, Nigerians have been waiting, because at this time when a lot of vulnerable Nigerians need to be helped, the importance of that ministry cannot be overemphasized.
Yes.
Yes, the president has now named someone as minister, substantive minister for that ministry, which means the rumor mill that had been agog, that the president was desperate to bring back Beta Edu, despite all of the stories that we've read about how she moved money into private accounts and all that, has now been put to rest. This is a clear indication that the president listens. It will have been embarrassing for the government without a formal clearance of the minister that was suspended since January this year. 10 months after, without a formal clearance, it will have been terrible for the president to bring her back. Because Nigerians will ask questions.
Exactly.
So the president has taken a decision, putting closure to that matter. She's not coming back to that ministry. Someone else has taken over that ministry. Someone else has been appointed. So the president also decided to scrap the sports ministry and leave the National Sports Commission to do the job of the sports ministry. This is not the first time that will happen. We've had that situation in the past when the affairs of our sports were handled by the National Sports Commission. I pray that Shehu Diko will be able to do the job that is been given at this time. Then, of course, he has nominated 7 new ministers and discharged 5 ministers. It's difficult to say that the president is wrong in discharging those ministers, because quite a lot of Nigerians didn't think that those ministers had done enough to justify their appointment in the first place. So he is allowed 5 of them to go, and he has also taken steps to strengthen the information ministry by bringing in Sunday Dare as special advisor to the president on public communication and national orientation under the Ministry of Information. So Sunday Dare will provide the much needed support that the current gentleman minister needs desperately, because Sunday Dare is a good communicator, he's a journalist, that the rest of us is a professional. So he's coming in now, just the same way that Jumoke Oduwole is coming in from the National Social Investment Authority to now serve as a minister in the Ministry of Trade. So we also have the reassignment of 10 ministers to new portfolios.
Okay.
As I've said, I want to see more rejigging done. It shouldn't even take a whole year to look at.
So you're looking at 6 months.
Who are not doing well. Yes. It shouldn't take that long. You must constantly look at your ministers and ask yourself whether they are helping you. A lot of those ministers are even ashamed to publicly proclaim some of the achievements of the government.
Of the administration.
Know what the problem is with them. If you are reluctant to announce that this is what your government has done, then you have no business being in that administration. That means you are ashamed of the administration and you have no business staying for one more day.
I agree with you.
The president has taken a decision that we want him to take on a routine basis. Not simply leave us, wait for 10 months before you look at ministers who are not good enough, who have no business being in your cabinet. Some of them are, like I always say, some of them are birds of passage and they actually deserve to go. So it's a good thing that this change has happened at this time. I'm excited about Bianca Ono coming into the administration. He's a round peg in the round hole because she has served before in the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So you'll be bringing a wealth of experience. I'm sure a lot of my friends, especially Dr. Abbas Adetunji in the U.S., who is a big admirer of Bianca Ono, will be happy with the appointment that the president has made, bringing in Bianca to strengthen the administration.
All right, then. All right, Dotun, let me come to you. Were you surprised by some of the ministries affected?
Well, I'm not, because not so many of us have been happy with the happenings in the government based on the promises and the deliveries. They are somewhat a bit far apart. And the only way to get it right is to rejig.
But really, what is responsible for this? I thought when they were coming in, there were promises.
Yes, there will be promises.
Then what happened along the way?
You see, I've seen one thing about governance in Nigeria. As the head of the team, you will have lofty ideas.
Okay.
But you need full soldiers to execute them. And in most cases, these are civil servants. And that is where the problems of most of these ministers start from.
Okay.
Unless you are very sure-footed, you are sure of yourself, you really know that this is the way I want to go, you are likely to get sucked into all these procedural stuffs and all the rest. One of those things you would have seen and which some Nigerians are shocked could happen has been this issue of issuance of international passports.
Talk about Ministry of Interior.
How did we suddenly come to the point where people can safely say, they've promised me 2 weeks, I'm going to get my passport, and you are getting it in 2 weeks? That shows some level of push, understanding that a few things could happen. There are other ministries like that you can say a few things have happened. And then you begin to look and ask yourself the question, what happened? How were these ministers able to push the civil servants around to achieve what they wanted, or the public servants? So for me, when you look at success outside of government, you must also now be able to match it with how you are going to become, because it requires a lot of skill and
competence here.
Competence, and then capacity to, it might be a wrong use of word, but ride roughshod over people. Because you need a lot of
to swim through the murky waters.
You must be able to. Sometimes people come and say, President Bola Tinubu made a pronouncement and without consultation or whatever. And then sometimes you go back and you sit down. If this man or any other person in government had called a full-fledged meeting to say we need to take this, you can imagine how long it will take to go through that process. Consultation is good, but sometimes when you get to the point of execution, that is where you find that if you are not careful, your ideas will die with you.
Oh, Dada. Now, the president, according to BK, the president has shown that he listens. Many Nigerians have been asking, when is this going to happen? Now it has happened. Your thoughts on this?
Well, again, we saw it coming. And
we saw it coming, yes.
We're not surprised. Because,
not surprised.
The president's spokesman told us some weeks back.
Yeah, some weeks back, yeah,
that
he did.
It was going to happen. Like my colleagues have said, it's a welcome development, although we expect something much better.
Were you surprised with some of the names?
No, none of them surprises me.
None of them?
No, none of them surprises, because you know, many of these ministers that have been discharged are not even visible. We don't know what they are doing. You understand? And you judge by actions, by results. So we are still expecting more to happen. But let me just make a brief comment about some of the appointments or the reappointments. For example, when I was thinking, when the Southeast Development Commission was created, I think a thought came to my mind that, hey, are we going to have another minister for the Southeast? No, you have this Southeast Development Commission, you have Niger Delta Development Commission, you have Southwest, and all of that. So it only makes sense for there to be just one minister coordinating all of this.
The entire South.
You understand?
Okay, all the
commission. So you now have a minister of regional. I think it's a brilliant decision. I'm also excited about the appointment of Shehu Diko as to head National Sports Commission, because he's a well-known sports administrator.
Okay.
You understand? So I'm excited about it. I'm also happy that now we have a minister for labor, because since the man was there, Simon Lalong went to the Senate, you know, and that place has been vacant. Also, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, since Better Edu was suspended, we've not had. I think that's a critical,
very critical,
very critical, it's a very critical ministry. We only hope that others will sit up, because you know they say that the death that kills your relative is a lesson to you.
It's a lesson.
Exactly. You understand? So people should learn, because ministers are there to serve. And one of the qualities that a minister must have is how to manage people. Now, like he said something which I normally tell people: civil servants have been there forever. Not every minister can not anybody who ever is appointed a minister can actually coordinate civil servants.
You must be able to step on toes.
Exactly. Look at a man like we can maybe seen as rambunctious, brash or whatever, but does it strike you as a minister that
you can just
civil servants we can control, or you will give an instruction and
you won't do it,
even though they have been there like forever? You understand? So ministers it's not only being successful in your field. You may have headed an organization or something in the private sector, but coming to the public sector is a different ball game. It's a different ball game. So you must have that capacity to lead. You must be a go-getter. You must have competence. You must have the will. So let's see how it goes. But we know that many of these ministers have not performed. There are more that have not performed in my own view.
So you think more should still go? Okay,
except they want to sit up.
All right, let me ask BK. BK, are you still there?
Yeah.
BK, should we be expecting more names?
That is my wish.
That is your wish?
That is my wish.
And even mine.
Yes, and I hope this president will do what I want in this regard. Because what I want in this regard is best for our nation. He has to take another look at this unwieldy list of ministers and ask himself whether they are living up to expectation. Adiza Bala Usman has been rating these ministers since the inception of this administration.
Yes.
And I can tell you that I know that even Adiza is embarrassed by the fact that some of those ministers don't even know why they are in government. Some of them don't know the full ramifications of the portfolios that they've been given. And if you critically assess them over the last 1 year, if not, a good number of them have not done great. So they deserve to go. There are still ministers left who deserve to go.
There are still some ministers that still deserve to go.
Yes, I say this without a shadow of a doubt in my mind that there are still ministers in this cabinet that deserve to go. What I advise the president to do is, there are those that you can keep for political reasons.
Okay.
I'm not saying those who are useful politically that you have to let them go. What you can do is give them a portfolio where
ministries,
their weaknesses may not be so manifest.
Okay.
So that they can remain in the cabinet and remain useful to you politically. The president is a fantastic political animal. I cannot at this point be teaching him what to do. I know that you keep some people in government for the political value that they possess. So you have to balance things. Look at those ones that you've given them some portfolios, they've let you down. Can you find less demanding portfolios, put them there because they are useful to you politically? He has to find that balance. There is no point keeping people who are not useful, who are not even prepared to stand on the rooftops and talk about the achievements of the administration. You have ministers who are tongue-tied. We chase them all around to come and even talk about the achievements of their government. I've never seen a set of ministers like this. And I'm not ashamed to say it.
But BKO, when
so if you cannot talk, if you are reluctant to even talk about the administration that you serve, come on, what is the matter with you? Why are you in that administration? And that is simply to make up the numbers. That's what it is. Why are you ashamed to talk about the achievements of the administration? And I know that even the Minister of Information has been on their case. He's been pushing and pushing for some of these ministers to come out and talk about the administration, about their achievements. They have achievements, but they are tongue-tied. They can't even talk about the achievement. What kind of ministers are those ones? If you are ashamed to be identified with an administration that has given you a job to do, then you have no business remaining there. That means you are not loyal. That means you are a bird of passage.
Bird of passage. All right, BK, you said something earlier talking about this minister. But the thing is, when these ministers actually came on board, you know, they came with lofty promises that they were going to deliver. But what happened along the way? Is it politics? Is it competence? What happened?
There are serious capacity issues. There are serious capacity issues. You will never know.
Serious capacity issues.
That some people are not good enough until you've entrusted them with a big responsibility. It happens. Even in our newsroom, people function at different levels. There are some people that when you have big assignments, you don't look in their direction. That is true. And what happens then? It then looks like you're overworking some people. It is not deliberate, but no leader wants to fail. When you give responsibility to far more people than others, you overwork those competent ones.
Okay.
Yes. So that is the natural thing.
All right, BK.
BK knows what I'm talking about because he knows what it means to run a newsroom.
Exactly.
The boys who bring gospel stories, we always go to them. They're always the ones that we rely on. Why some people are there, they collect salary, but they don't give as much as others. That is the same thing in this cabinet. There are those who are doing well. There are those who are never do well. It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that.
Way.
All right, BK.
Describe them.
BK, we need to go on this quick break now. The conversation continues, okay? Don't go anywhere. It's still Journalist Hangout.
Let's believe in ourselves. Let's have the right attitude. We've got all it takes to get there.
I believe in
Nigeria, believe. Powered by National Orientation Agency.
And cable, great quality, now with the new look.
Hello, TVC Communications, how can I help?
What makes TVC the right choice for my business?
Excellent question, sir. Let me share some exciting facts with you.
Start your day on TVC Entertainment with Wake Up Nigeria, a family and lifestyle show. Your view empowers women globally.
It's your view, let it count.
Entertainment Splash delivers the hottest celebrity trends. On TVC News, we keep you informed with breaking news and in-depth analysis of events shaping the world.
I will continue to speak the truth.
TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. delivers the most important stories of the day. Max FM, your hit music radio station, captivates listeners daily across Lagos and Abuja, making every commute more enjoyable. Adaba 88.9 FM is not left out, as it is the voice of Southwest. And on TVC Digital, we reach to million viewers daily. All together, pulls in over 17 million viewers daily. Contact us on 0707-272-8338 or marketing at tvccommunications.tv. Partner with TVC Communications today. Let's grow together.
All right, if you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangout. I still have Paul Dada and Dotun Oladipo. BK is also joining us right there from Abuja. All right, let me start with you, Dotun. The delicate balance between competence and politics. The president needs to strike it. How should it go? Where do you think the president will decide? Which should hold more ground? Competence or politics in the area of the ministers?
Well, in a climate like ours,
okay,
you must, balance both, at least for now.
Balance in the area of 50-50, 60-40?
For now,
okay,
because the president is in his first term. If he wants a second term,
so the politics should take a bit of
politics must also play a part. Now, if you go back some years, when President Olusegun Obasanjo was in power, you will see that the critical decisions, some of those very critical decisions he took, they were in his second term. They weren't in the first. Because at the time he was looking at, I'm going to get a second term, he also did not need some of the things that happened in his second term to happen That's what you see with a lot of governors. That was also what a lot of people were expecting will play out in a place like Rivers, where the governor is now at loggerheads with this. You know, if you go to some other states, you will see that before that fight will become serious, the incumbent will be sure of a second term. And that's what they do. And for me, because of the dire situation in which Nigeria is now, that is why we are now urging the president to move very fast.
To look at more competence.
Look at more at competence now. Because if Nigeria doesn't get out of where it is now and step up a bit, no matter the level of politicking he plays with the composition of his cabinet, a second term can be sure.
Okay.
The way we are, where we are now with our naira, the instability in the foreign exchange market,
volatility,
with
inflation, and all
everything combining. Inflation is rising, interest rates going up, and then it's
a lot of things.
Something that the president needs to sit down and look at. And that is why some of us were expecting that even the economic team would have been touched, would have been shaken a bit, to send a very strong signal that the president is also very concerned about their being able to make the economy work. As it is now, for most of us, despite the fact that we don't understand the nitty-gritty of the naira and kobo, we know as laymen that the economy is not working. And it is not getting any better than when the government came into power. Because if it was any better, at least even if it is in the naira to the dollar, we should have seen a bit more value. Rather, it's crashing. 1,700 naira plus now. Because nobody will come and tell me now that we should use the official exchange rate as a yardstick to measure how well the naira is doing. Even at the official, it's still about 1,600.
Exactly.
So the difference is in the region of about 100.
Yes.
And for me,
not good enough.
I don't think our naira should be at that level.
Should be at that level.
We shouldn't at all. We are a great country.
True.
We have potential.
True.
But can we unleash those potentials? These are the people we are waiting on to do it for us.
All right. We're pressed for time, but most of those ministers, when they came in at first, they came with lofty ideas, promises that they would do it. But BKO said something very critical, that you don't know someone until you give them an assignment.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people talk tough. They are very good speakers, talkers. They can say anything, make promises, but sometimes the realities of their responsibility might actually show whether they are up to the task. I think what has actually happened with many of these ministers, it may not have been that they didn't even want to work. You understand? But what they faced, they did not anticipate, and they don't have the will or the capacity to actually handle the realities that have confronted them. And since they are not there for jamboree, they are not there. They are there to serve. And so if they're not delivering, let them go. So that's what has happened. And we want more of this to happen. Sorry if I may quickly comment on the balance between
competence and politics.
I think it depends on the priority of the president. If the president believes that politics is more important to him than delivering good governance, then the balance will tilt the way of politics. But I think that what matters more for Nigerians is that we have good governance. It's only those who are living in alternate reality that will say things are getting better for the people. What is happening now is that cost is soaring while people's personal income, personal revenue is dwindling. And as people are getting poorer since this, let's not pretend.
Yeah, see the situation.
You understand? The reforms, now if you call them reforms, but these reforms have side effects. Painful side effects.
Yeah.
And so whatever whoever can help the president to ameliorate the sufferings of the people,
the president should bring that person on board.
Not politics. I'm not saying that we can't rule out politics. BKO said something the other time. He said maybe if there are people that are political heavyweights, but they are not performing. You could give them some positions that are not critical. I don't want to mention names, but I know.
You know, at the end of the day, performance will get a lot of people swayed to be on your side.
That's another way to look at it.
Yeah. Performance will do. So it will now go beyond the politicking.
Exactly.
Because if you use the better part of your time to do politics, or you allow this preparation for the next regime or the next election to determine, then the naira will keep falling the way we are seeing it.
I agree.
And there will be a lot of things going wrong.
I agree with you. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's move straight to our next conversation. Let's take a trip to Kano State, where the vexed issue of local government autonomy cannot come into full force unless elections are conducted into council administrations. But there are concerns in many parts of the country over credibility of such polls. A federal high court sitting in Kano has disqualified the chairman and members of the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, KANSEC, from conducting the scheduled local government elections in the state. Now, this is because some provisions of the Electoral Act were violated. Justice Amobede ruled that whatever the commission did, has done or is doing in preparation for the 2024 local government elections in the state, such as issuance of election guidelines, circulars, screening of candidates, sale of nomination and expression of interest forms, among others, are null and void and of no effect whatsoever. The judge directed the police and other security agencies to ensure full compliance with the ruling. All right, BK, are you still with us?
Yeah, of course I am.
Yes, BK, looking at the Kano State situation, the elections were scheduled to hold this Saturday, but really, first of all, who takes the blame? How was the KANSEC chairman, how was he even appointed? And also, why are we just finding out now that the KANSEC chair was a political card holder, a political card carrying member? What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, first and foremost, I have to say that I'm ashamed at the level of impunity. I'm ashamed of the level of impunity that is going on in the name of local government elections in our country. Governors are not interested in conducting free, fair, and credible elections. As far as they are concerned, electoral integrity means nothing. In a lot of these elections that have taken place, so-called council elections that have taken place, there are no result sheets. People's names are simply written. In many of the polling centers, elections didn't take place, but results were procured from those places. You can see, that was what happened in Rivers, for example. People said, okay, let us have results from polling centers, polling center to polling center. Let's have the results. They didn't produce results. It moved to other states. The same thing happened. Come on, what is going on? It's a big mess. You cannot say that election is taking place, whereas what you've done is simply to write names of so-called winners. And by Sunday morning, because you suspect that the opposition will file cases in court to stop the announcement, to stop the inauguration of so-called winners of bogus elections, you now go on, you now swear them in on Sunday morning. I mean, this is electoral brigandage. We can't call it any other name. This is electoral brigandage going on in the name of local council elections. Governors are simply overreaching themselves. And you also wonder if these governors were in charge at the federal level, what will they do?
Oh dear. Oh dear.
What will they do if they were in charge of INEC? CX in the various states have been completely taken over by governors. They make the appointments, they do what they like. So we found now a courageous judge, Justice Simon Amobeda, who has declared that the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, so-called Independent Electoral Commission, but in actual fact, they are firmly in the pocket of the sitting governor. There's no independence at all. They should remove independence from their names. The governor, the judge said these guys were not civil servants above level 14.
Yes.
As stipulated in the law. And it is not just the constitution that they have breached. Even the law setting up the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, that is Council Law 2001, they have thoroughly breached it. So what do you expect a courageous judge to do? Since the people appointed have been proven to be card-carrying members of the NMPP, the ruling party in the state, in contravention of Section 197(1)(b) and Section 201(a) of the 1999 Constitution.
Okay.
Then, whatever actions they are taking, whatever steps they are taking in preparing for that election, including issuing regulations and guidelines to conduct that election, have been rendered null and void.
Okay.
Not only that, the judge sacked the chairman and some other members of the commission who were appointed in contravention of the law. The judge also ruled that henceforth, in reconstituting the commission, the law has to be obeyed. The law has to be obeyed. Because if you do not obey the law, and you simply put your party members there, blatantly put your party members there, as others have been doing, then you are contravening the law. And the same thing that happened a couple of days back may happen again.
Okay. All right.
So this is where we are. Somebody has to stand up to say enough of the impunity going on in the states in the name of independent state independent electoral commission. Simply writing names, not producing result sheet, not where they think that they are not likely to win election, they will not even send ballot materials to those places. I can tell you that this is what has been happening. Well, I've been following those elections, and it's really shameful.
Really shameful
that we in this modern age we are being barbaric in the way we conduct elections. It's extremely shameful.
All right, Dr. Let me come to you. What should we expect on Saturday? Do you expect the Kano State government to comply with the court judgment, or do you expect further litigation?
Well, I think that election will hold. We know the way states have been doing things.
But there's a court judgment.
They are going to get a counter judgment. That I can assure you. And that's why what BK said is important for us to get it straight. You only have few people who are able to sit down and say, this is what has happened. And rule in that wise, because you have evidence. But that I can also tell you from what we have seen in the last few months, the past few months, that election is like 90%.
90% going to hold.
Going to hold. Because they are going to get a counter judgment.
What are your thoughts on this one?
I won't be surprised if they get a counter ruling, because we have precedents.
So many.
It happened in the case of Rivers State. The Federal High Court even said, look, there is no updated voter register and all of that, so you can't go ahead and hold that election. The people were laughing at the court now. And I would have thought that Fubara in that case, if you believe that court had no jurisdiction, you context it.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. Jurisdiction. Does the Federal High Court have a right to discuss on such matter, even though it is valid?
No, yeah,
does it have jurisdiction, though?
It's actually a debatable matter.
A debatable one.
But if you are contesting the jurisdiction of a court, you contest it in court, right? You might
not by going ahead to hold the election.
Not by just going to hold the election. What it actually meant, and what it will mean in this case, if they go ahead to hold this election, is that the state governors don't have respect for institutions. And this is why many people are even afraid of state police, the much desired state police. Okay. That the governors will use the state police for their selfish ends. Personally, if I even prefer that both INEC and what the state independent executive commissioners are not under the executive, I would call for the adoption of the waste report.
Okay.
Yes, waste committee report that said that to insulate the electoral commission, the electoral commission from the shenanigans of politicians, that it should be under the National Judicial Commission.
Exactly.
Now, in the case of CX, it can be under the state judicial commissions. Anyway, it can also be argued. It can still be argued. That governors have the state judiciary in their pocket. But I think we still, in many cases, we still have very fearless people on the bench. You know, we are still more likely to have sanity. That's my view with the judiciary than.
But in the case of the local government, that's why I'm also buying this move for there to be a commission that is not constituted by the states. Some people are saying give it to INEC.
Okay.
Some people are saying let's set up another body. For me, it will be give it to INEC. Why? Because in constituting another body, you're also creating another bureaucracy, which is going to cost us money.
Which we don't have.
Which we don't have. So that's why when we discuss the first topic, BK also spoke about mergers, reduction in the number of ministers. That's what a lot of us are conversing for. So if you go and create another bureaucracy, then you are putting in another level of funding that we can't afford.
We can't afford right now.
So,
no.
A lot of our governors need to learn that just as you keep crying that there is federal might when you conduct governorship election, so are you also using your state might when you conduct
local government elections. All right, BKO, if peradventure the Kano State government decides to comply with this, what is the implication of this? Are we starting again from the beginning because the court actually cancelled everything Kansek has done in terms of distribution of materials and so on? Are they to start from the scratch? What's the implication of this?
Which materials have they distributed now? Which materials? Which materials? So say the thing is better to do the right thing. If you disobey the law courts, whatever you do afterwards, go and ask Rotimi Amechi now. You disobeyed the courts in 2018 going to 2019. And APC lost all of the elective positions because it refused to comply with the order of the court. By the time it got to the Supreme Court declared everything that he had done a nullity. So they taught him an exemplary lesson there that you cannot show executive arrogance, show arrogance to the law courts. So this is the thing. Do the right thing. The law, they've quoted the law, the portion of the law that Kano State created by itself in 2001. They contravened it. The constitution of the country, the two different portions of the constitution, they contravened. There is a reason why those provisions were put there. It's not for a governor to trample on the constitution. Remember, this same Kano State governor in the tussle for Kano Emirship.
Yes.
He said, that a judge was not in Nigeria. He didn't know that the law permits a judge to make a ruling, even if he was outside Nigeria, electronically.
Okay.
So you sometimes have who are the people advising them since the COVID era.
Exactly. During the COVID,
judges have been giving orders electronically, and so they disobeyed the order. Have they solved the problem of the emirship tussle in Kano now? Till today, they've not solved it. If you refuse to obey the court, and you got a court of concurrent jurisdiction, if you don't get a superior court to set this aside, and you go ahead to conduct the election, whatever you've done, you've merely wasted your time. You must find a superior court who will look at the matter, and the superior court is the Court of Appeal, not the State High Court.
All right, Biko, what should we expect on Saturday?
Going to State High Court sometimes. How do you use the State High Court to countermand the decision of the Federal High Court? You've got to get a superior court. So if they can get a superior court, fine. If they can't get a superior court, then they must not hold that election.
But Biko, what do you expect on Saturday? Just in 1 minute, do you think the Kano State government will comply with the court judgment or further litigations?
I cannot preempt a man that I've never met in my life. I don't even know him. I see him only on TV. I can only expect them to obey the court.
Obey the court.
Obey the court. If you don't want to obey the court, then get a superior court.
Yeah.
Get a superior court to set aside the ruling of the court. If you cannot find a superior court that will set this aside, then you better hold on.
Okay.
Since the mistake they made earlier, we've seen them, they are obeying some of the orders of the court in respect of the traditional chieftaincy contest.
Yes.
So I expect them
to obey.
A judge, he himself, the Kano State governor is a product of the law. He's a product of our law courts.
Exactly.
Because he won at the Supreme Court. So you cannot choose what orders of the court to obey.
All right, then.
Yeah.
You can't say, when it suits me, I obey. When it doesn't suit me, I don't obey.
Cherry picking. All right, thank you so much, BK.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
That is where I stand.
Thank you very much, BK. Beautiful conversation. Beautiful conversation. Thank you so much, BK, for having this conversation with me. Like I said, I've missed you. Dotson, thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Paul Dada, I really enjoyed having a conversation with you. And also thank you to the gentlemen in the PCR and the MCR for pressing the buttons accordingly for us to have a beautiful show. And that's it on Journalist Hangouts today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11 and join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.
Shed one tear for any broke island bachelor.
I just, she have not shown sign of settling down.
Oh, you don't mean it. The power to deliver disability.
I might have a solution. You take this